Right. Welcome, guys, to this fabulous masterclass that I've put together for you guys. Now, if you're on this, if you're watching this, if you're listening to this, I'm guessing it's because you have a service accommodation business, or you're thinking of getting into the service accommodation business, and but somewhere along the ways, you've kind of realized that to be more profitable, you need to be able to generate as many direct bookings as possible. So I've named this masterclass "How to Get Direct Bookings Without Going Broke or Losing Your Sanity, or literally smashing your laptop because you're technically overwhelmed." I have spoken to hundreds of independent SA providers, and the one recurring thing, the fear that they have when it comes to being able to generate direct bookings and depend less on the OTAs, is that it's going to cost a lot of money. That's the main concern that they have. And that would be true, especially if you don't know what you need to do. If you try and emulate or copy what the OTAs are doing, or what the big brands are doing, you will go broke quite quickly before you've even seen a return. I have been in marketing for at least 10 years, online marketing, digital marketing, social media marketing. So I do have a little bit of an advantage over, your ordinary SA provider. But this masterclass is meant to inspire you so you can realize, the possibilities. These are things that I've perfected on. These are things that I'm currently doing. These are things that I've been doing for the last 2 years to make sure that I'm not relying on the OTAs like Booking.com to generate sales, to generate guests, and ultimately to be more profitable. So I'm going to teach you this by showing you what you need to understand before you implement any type of booking strategy, direct booking strategy. I'm going to show you the channels and the methods that I use to find guests, and most importantly, how to convert lookers to bookers. Because, it's all very well having a lot of traffic coming to your website or a lot of traffic going to your landing pages, but if you can't convert those website visitors into paying guests, then essentially you're throwing money away. So a little bit of an introduction about myself. I'm Emilia. I'm a mother of 4 children. My oldest is turning 17 in September. I still cringe when I think about that, actually. But yes, I am the founder of My City Spaces, and I've been in service accommodation since 2011. I started off with 1 apartment in Wellingborough. I don't know if any of you guys know where Wellingborough is, but it's a really small town, just on the outskirts of Northamptonshire. But anyway, it did really, really well. And then I decided to go to the city in London. I don't live in London. I live about 100 miles away from London. However, I now have 70 rent-to-rent apartments, including 2 apart hotels. Okay, so for the last 2 years, I've been running my SA business very successfully using nothing but Facebook but not just Facebook, but mainly Facebook. I would say a good 80% of my leads come from Facebook. And I turn those leads into paying guests. And I've also been able to create a database, a huge email list of leisure and corporate travelers. Am I on Booking.com? Yes, I'm on Booking.com because I'm expanding my business. I'm acquiring new blocks of apartments every quarter. And now, obviously, I use the OTAs. I use Booking.com because they have what I call the billboard effect. Okay, but I'll talk about that later on, and you see what I mean. Guys, I just want to say to you, I've created this masterclass to show you that you need to be able to generate direct bookings if you want to remain profitable. Okay, if you want to be in complete control of your business, that's what you need to do. However, in saying that, Booking.com, late rooms, these OTAs, they are not our enemies, okay? In fact, we should be able to use them to our advantage. We should leverage the OTAs. You know, it's not just about getting an apartment or apartments, sticking them on Booking.com, and then taking a back seat. If it was as simple as that, the hotels, the big hotels, the small hotels, they wouldn't waste money on running ad campaigns, okay? But if you're in hospitality, especially accommodation, the more direct bookings you get, the more you're going to have at the end of the day, you're going to have more profit, more net profit. And also the biggest thing that you need to think about is, you know, do you really want your business to be 100% dependent on a third party? What happens if you get kicked off that third party? What happens if, you know, for some weird reason, Booking.com wasn't there anymore? Does that mean you're going to shut shop and your business just dies? Okay, you need to think about that as well. So I'm hoping that this masterclass shows you what's possible, what you can do, and so that you can go out there and start doing it yourself. I mean, you don't even have to implement everything that I teach you in this masterclass. Even if you take one thing and start working on that, you will see a massive difference in your bottom line. So I'm currently going through a complete rebrand of My City Spaces. I have been targeting just corporate guests for the last 2 years. I like to spend a lot of money attracting business travelers because in my opinion they make better guests, they stay longer, and they're more loyal. However, I'm doing a little bit of a diversion. I'm going to be focusing on corporate guests as well as leisure guests because I realized that I have been missing out on a huge chunk of opportunity. But you know, that's just another story for another day. If I could show you a little bit about my apartments, I operate 70 apartments in 4 different locations. And these are some of the apartments that I have. My apartments are mainly 2-bed apartments because they just seem to work a lot better. More people sleep in the 2-bed, 2-bath apartments. What you can see there is a screenshot of what my merchant account took in for the month of April. That's almost 180 grand in revenue. Guys, this screenshot is not there to show off. It's just to show you that it's doable. Okay, it's not impossible to run a very, very successful business on this scale. You don't need to have 300 or 400 apartments, although that would be nice, but you don't need to get there. You know, when you get into this business, you really need to think about, you know, your income goals. Everyone has different circumstances. I have 4 children. They are my priority. I coach somebody who she doesn't have any children at the minute. What she focuses on is traveling and just having fun, okay? So it really does depend on your personal circumstances. What are your personal goals? How much do you want to earn a year, a month? You know, start from there and then figure out how you need to get there. For me, service departments, the rent-to-rent service departments model made complete sense. It worked perfectly for me from day one. Now, that's not to say that I didn't have problems. I had loads of problems. In fact, in one point, I lost close to £60,000 because I took on too much too soon. I didn't have processes in place. I basically thought that more apartments means more money and then happy days. And that wasn't the case. I had to give up a lot of apartments. I upset a lot of people. But, you know, I learned from that and I grew from that. So I suppose, you know, it wasn't really a failure. It was just a learning curve. And I'm really, really grateful for it because if it wasn't for that, I really don't think that I'd be where I am today. Okay. And also, guys, I really need to apologize. My voice sounds extremely annoying, but I had a bad cold over the weekend. I don't even know where it came from, but I did. But I promised that I'll be recording this class for you guys today, and that's what I'm doing. So I do apologize if you hear me cough or sniffle or whatever. I'm just trying to keep my promise. Okay, so enough about me. Let's get straight into this. So here's what you learn during this presentation, this class. You're going to learn how to utilize Facebook so you can generate more bookings. You're going to learn how to get repeat guests without sacrificing your dignity so you can build a real brand. Okay, guys, this class is not for someone who's just happy to have one apartment. Okay, this class is not for those that want to get into this business as a hobby. If you want to get into this business, if you are in this business and you want to build a real brand and one day be a brand that's like Stay City or Go Native, then definitely this is the class for you. Now, I'm not saying that I'm on any scale of Go Native or Stay City, but I'm very ambitious, and one day I hope that I get there. Okay, this presentation will also show you how to avoid the dreaded VAT black hole to oblivion, so you can finally have peace of mind knowing that your business is generating the revenue it needs to not only sustain itself, but to be profitable. Like as I mentioned before, I have talked to over 100 SA providers, and it just seems that everyone, well, not everyone, but most people tend to drop off and give up when they hit that VAT threshold. You know, it's 20% at the minute. So you've got your 20% to pay the taxman. You've got 15 to 18% Booking.com commissions to pay. You've got your housekeeping to pay. You've got your condiments and toiletries, the council tax, the rents. You know, you've got all these things that you need to pay out. If you're not careful, if you're not retaining some of that 15% that you're giving away to the Booking.coms and the Hotels.com or Late Rooms or whatever OTA you're on, you're going to find that you're not going to be able to be profitable, because that's a lot of money that's going out to the OTAs. Okay, and also I'm going to show you the new way to prospect for guests who are looking for accommodation in or near your location. Now guys, this is something that I'm really passionate about. I don't do these classes or these videos to show off. I've always been a teacher at heart. Okay, even when I was just doing marketing, I would coach small women business owners, small businesses who were run by women, because I'm just really passionate about getting my knowledge out there. I feel like there's a lot of stuff that I've learned along the way. By the way, you never stop learning. I'm learning something new every day, okay? So you never stop learning. But having said that, I feel like if I have this knowledge and it's working for me and I've used it on my clients and it's working for other people, then it's my responsibility. I feel like I have a responsibility to get it out there to as many people as possible. Now, that's not to say that you need to do exactly what I'm doing, because as I've mentioned before, everyone's circumstances are different. But I do hope that you are inspired to look into it a lot more, if anything. So I'm really hoping that that's what you get from this masterclass. So why is this important? You know, most of what we've been taught is dead wrong, okay? When you start your service accommodation business, it doesn't start and just end with the OTAs. You need to be able to generate sales for yourself, okay? That's what a self-sustainable business does. If you can't get sales independently of the OTAs, you are not in control of your business, and that's a very scary place to be, okay? You don't need to know everything about Facebook or Google or email marketing, okay? You just need to know what's relevant to you. Being in marketing for so many years, I used to, come across clients who felt like they need to know everything about Google AdWords, Google Maps, Google this, Google that. You don't need to know everything. Facebook is a huge powerhouse it's the most successful social media network in the world, and it's grown so much in the short space of time that it's been around. You know, guys, you don't need to know everything about Facebook marketing. You just need to know what's relevant to your business. And that's what I aim to teach you and to show you today. And then the third thing that you need to realize is that a marketing budget is not an expense, it's an investment. So if you're on this class and you look at paid marketing as something that you don't want to dabble into, then stop this video, because there's no point in you watching it. Okay, marketing, paid marketing is an investment. It's an investment that should return. Okay, if it doesn't, then you need to look at what you're doing. I hope that makes sense to everyone who's listening. I look at marketing as an investment and not an expense, because what I put out in the ad spend, I get a ton back. All right, so let's get started. I've tried to keep this as short as possible, because I know I haven't got a whole day to teach you guys this. I know you guys, I don't know what time it is that you're watching this, but it's probably at night time, it's probably in the day, and you're, dealing with kids and the business. So I want to keep this as short as possible, but also I want it to be value packed. So I've just drilled this down so I can show you the most important things that you need to think about, so you can go away and hopefully start implementing. So there's 7 easy steps to creating a direct booking strategy. Number 1, you need to know your guests. So I'm going to be talking to you about the 3 types of guests that that are very relevant to service accommodation and how you can identify them. The second step is methods of attracting guests who are in market for buying accommodation. Guys, I am not a fan of throwing money to just for the sake of it. Okay, if I'm spending $1 on marketing, I need to know that I'm going to get some kind of return on it. What I'm trying to say is, you don't need to spend money or try and emulate what the OTAs are doing. All you need to worry about as a small service accommodation provider is that you need to spend money on advertising. But when you're spending that money, make sure that you're advertising only to people who are in market for buying accommodation. There is no point in trying to spend money on people who are not even thinking of traveling, because there's millions and millions, there's billions of people on the planet that you just haven't got that kind of budget. So you need to spend money on people who are in market for buying accommodation in your location or near your location. Okay, the third step that you need is the one thing you need to generate direct bookings. Okay, if you haven't got this thing, it's going to be really, really difficult to generate direct bookings. I've heard software companies sell people on the idea that you can generate direct bookings straight off their app on Facebook, and that you don't need a website. And that's just completely not true. You need a website. Okay. The fourth thing is, what do direct bookers actually want? All right, guys, this is not just me just throwing out things here. I spend a lot of money on marketing, so it's in my best interest to make sure that I do the research properly. Okay, so I'm going to be showing you what direct bookers actually want, based on a survey that was done by a big hospitality company. The fifth thing, valuable incentives. Guests love incentives, but if you don't know what you're supposed to offer them, then this class will show you. And then also how to ensure that you get repeat bookers. There's nothing greater than having business come back over and over again. First of all, you're not paying for it, so it's free, which is just great. And then second of all, it does a lot for your brand reputation. If somebody stays with you once and they come back again, you know you've done a really, really good job. Okay, but most people tend to try and spend more money on trying to get new guests and they completely neglect the fact that you've got guests who stayed with you before, and you know what, it's dead easy to get them to come back. So I'm hoping that this class, by the time you finish with this class, you'll be better equipped to know what to do to ensure that you get repeat guests. Just hold on, guys, I'll stop that. Okay, well, sorry about that, my phone rang. Okay, so let's carry on. So now the first thing that I've talked about is knowing your guests. So today I'm going to talk about 3 types of different guests. Okay, the social media nudges. Okay, they're impulsive. They like to ask questions publicly as well. They're very demanding and they love promo codes. And usually when they make a booking, it's because they've been inspired by what they see on social media websites like Facebook and Instagram and Twitter. These are the guests you really want to grab attention of, because if you're going to be creating your profiles and running ads on Facebook or Twitter or Instagram, the social media nudges are the guests you absolutely want to be able to identify. Okay, so when you're creating your content, when you're creating your offers, make sure that you've got this in mind. You know, they're very impulsive. So when you create an offer and it's in public, when they come to buy it, make sure it's readily available to them. Okay, they like to ask questions. So if you have a post on your Facebook page and, you know, a potential guest asks a question, make sure that, you know, you've got some notification set up so you can answer it straight away. I have a lot of people leave comments on my ads, on my retargeting ads, on my prospecting ads. They're asking about availability, maybe an issue that they've encountered on the website. Make sure that you always get a notification, because if you don't respond to a guest, you've potentially missed out on a booking. And also they love promo codes. And you see, you know, when you're creating ads, let me just say this first. People are not on Facebook or Instagram or Twitter to buy things. They're on there to socialize with their friends and their family. Okay. Some are on there for business, but, you know, people on social media love a good deal. All right. So if you're running a promo for your apartments, make sure that you post that on your Facebook page, because it will just attract the type of guests that you're looking for. The second type of guest that there is that work really well for direct bookings are the sleep-deprived travelers. Okay, these are guests who are always on the go. They're very techy and digital savvy, and they prefer to have a choice of late check-ins. And then what they also do is that they use their mobile device a lot. Okay, so an inspirational website is a definite must. All right. And I want to emphasize on the choice of late check-ins. These are people who are traveling, and when they're traveling, they are working. They're always on the go, go, go. So sometimes they might not be able to get to where they're going, their accommodation, early. They usually arrive late. So having that choice of late check-in would definitely sway them to stay with you and not your competitor. Okay, and then we've got the aging baby boomers with energy. These are your older generation. They use their pension to book holidays and travel. They're very generous. They're cultured. They're active. But, you know, the good thing about them is they stay longer. They tend to stay longer when they go on holiday. They're not there for 1 or 2 nights. They tend to stay for 5, 7, sometimes 8 nights. So make sure that with your when you're creating a direct booking strategy, you've got these type of guests in mind as well. Another important thing to note is that they usually use a desktop or a computer or a laptop to complete their booking. They're not really bothered with, you know, mobile phones and iPads and stuff like that. They prefer to sit in front of a computer and complete a booking, because to them they see everything as an overview. They don't make last minute decisions. You know, they plan everything out. And then the fourth type of guest that you really want to be thinking about in your direct booking strategy is the successful business traveler. Okay, these are guests who have luggage in one hand and the phone in the other. I'm sure we've all seen them at the airports and the train stations. Okay, they're very organized and they appear to have a good work-family life balance. So these people know exactly what they want. Okay, if you want to attract the business traveler and if you want them to come back again, you better make sure that you're very organized. If they turn up and the check-in is muddled up and confused and they've got to wait for you to come and check them in, then expect to not see them again. Okay, these are people who've always been on the go, but they're also very successful people. So they know what they want, they know what they're looking for. Another thing that's really important to them is that they are looking for accommodation that has easy transport links. A lot of them are not driving because they're going from one meeting to the other, and especially if they're traveling in the city, for instance, London, it's a nightmare, driving in London. There's just traffic everywhere. So they're always looking for accommodation that's got transport links nearby. And guys, another thing here to note, this is quite funny, but actually very true. They prefer Wi-Fi to oxygen, okay? Because Wi-Fi keeps them connected to their business, to their work, all right? So if you don't offer Wi-Fi, paid or free, whatever, if you haven't got Wi-Fi, they would go somewhere else. They'd rather book somewhere else and stay somewhere else. So make sure that you've got that highlighted on your websites, on your social media pages, in your ads, even on the OTAs, okay? Wi-Fi is really, really important to them. So from these 4 types of guests, I'm sure that there's at least a couple that you've looked at and thought, well, I would really like to have more of these guests. So the reason you need to know your guests is because it will help you create an effective online marketing campaign. When you start running ads, if you know the type of guests you're trying to attract, you know what to say, you know the ad copy to use, and you know that the images, the graphics that need to go, or even a video, you know what it needs to say to inspire them to click on your ad and then go to your website to hopefully complete a booking or at least make an inquiry. So that's the first thing you need to do. Know your guests. So now that you know your guests, you're now thinking of, right, how do I then attract these guests? How do I get them to come to my website and make an inquiry and then make a booking? Remember, you don't want to run ads to people who are not even thinking of coming to stay in your location or somewhere near your location. You always want to be able to market to people who are in market for buying accommodation. So for me, the most successful channel that I use for prospecting, for turning website visitors, potential guests into paying guests, is through the use of Facebook ads. Okay, so Facebook has 3 strategies that I use. The first one, I use Facebook ads is for retargeting. So retargeting is being talked about a lot. So Facebook ads retargeting is where you have a potential guest come to your website. Maybe they found you through an OTA, or they found you on Google, or even Facebook itself. Okay, they click on your link and then they come to your website. They look at pictures, they look at your terms and conditions, they look at the rates, and then they leave without making a booking. What you can do from there is that you can retarget or remarket to them on Facebook. Now, this is a very, very effective way of getting people to come back to your website and complete a booking. Personally, for every $1 that I spend on Facebook retargeting, I'm getting a return of $25 to $30. That's how effective Facebook retargeting is. The simple facts are, when people come to your website for the first time, they are just not going to book from you straight away. What they're going to do is they're going to go away, do a little bit more research, Okay, maybe it's the pricing, maybe they're looking for better value, maybe they're looking at different alternatives. Maybe it's just not an apartment that they want. Perhaps they are looking at a hotel room as well. The point of retargeting is you want to be able to stay top of mind. You want to remind them that you're still there. So that's why you need to be able to run retargeting ads on Facebook. They work a lot. There's a lot of businesses that use retargeting really, really successfully. If you've ever been on my website, you will have noticed that at some point I've retargeted you. I've been retargeted a lot. Every day I'm being retargeted. Everyone is, But if you're serious about buying something, whether it's a product or a service, retail, in our case, booking accommodation, if you go on a website, I'll give you an example. I went on the Marriott Hotel because I needed to travel to Northampton for something. I went on the Marriott Hotel and I looked at their rooms because I was going to book a hotel room. And then I got distracted. I can't remember why, but I did. I left. And then later on that evening, I saw a retargeting ad for Marriott asking me to go back and complete my booking. And I thought, oh, shit, yeah, I need to do this because I'm traveling, right? So I went back on their website and I completed the booking. Had I not seen that retargeting ad, I would have gone back to book at some point because I needed to go to Northampton. There was no two ways about it. I would have gone back to book, but perhaps, the days that I wanted to stay would have been gone. So retargeting just helps, it helps your guests make that decision. It pushes them. They're either going to book with you or they're not. If they're not, then it doesn't matter how many times you retarget them, they're never going to book. But serious guests who are ready to travel will come back and they'll book provided you are providing what they need. The second type of strategy that I use with Facebook ads are what's known as custom and lookalike audiences. Now, this is something that's really, really effective and quite exciting as well. So a custom audience is where you have, there's two different types of custom audiences. You've got your website custom audiences. So this is a list of people that have visited your website. And then you've got an email custom audience. An email custom audience is where you've got a bunch of email addresses. You take those email addresses and then you upload them onto Facebook. And then Facebook will match those email addresses with people that are on Facebook. Okay? That's really, really powerful. You could literally show your ads to people who are on your email list. It's a very, very effective way of making sure that you're targeting people who are in market for buying accommodation. So if you have previous guests who stayed with you and you've got their email address, put them up in Facebook and run ads to them, encouraging them to come back so they can be repeat bookers. Your website custom audiences, you get people going to your website every day. The thing is, guys, to remember here is that guests, like over 90% of a travel journey from a guest point of view starts on Google. From Google, they go to an OTA because OTA spend the most money on search engines. Okay, they will go on an OTA. They will come across you on an OTA, and then what they do from there is that they then go back to Google or they go back to Facebook to find out more information about you. I'm not going to talk too much about this now because I'll cover it later on. But that's the customer journey. Okay. So when you've got people coming to your website and you've put them in your website's custom audience, it means that they have some level of interest in coming to stay where you are or near where you are. Do you understand? The thing is, guests are not always going to book with you the very first time that they come and stay. It could be for a different number of reasons. But what's really, really important is that we get a second chance through the use of custom audiences and retargeting on Facebook. Now, what are lookalike audiences? The great thing about Facebook is that when you've got an email list or when you've got a website custom audience, you've got that in your Facebook account, you can ask Facebook to find thousands of other people that are similar to the ones you've already got. Can you see the difference here? So instead of running ads to cold traffic that you don't know whether they're travelers or business travelers or not, you could actually run ads to people who are similar to your guests who've actually stayed with you. Okay, you can run ads to people who are similar to those that have visited your website. That is really, really powerful. That's the difference between running ads to random people that you have no idea about whether they're going to convert or not, and running ads to people who you know are very similar to people who've already made that conversion on your website, either by making an inquiry, by searching for accommodation, or by actually booking and staying with you. Facebook allows you to be able to do all of this. It's very, very simple, but you just need to know how to actually do it. But it's quite simple. Obviously, I haven't got time to go through it in this masterclass now because that would take up an entire 2 hours on its own. But I just wanted to show you that the Facebook ads, customer lookalike audience, are really, really powerful, really, really useful strategy to use when you are creating your direct booking strategy. The third and most really, really, really exciting thing about Facebook, in fact, Facebook did launch this in 2016, the early part of 2016, but it was only made available to the big brands like Marriott, the Hilton, Intercontinental, because they have a huge budget, right? So Facebook always starts with these people when they're launching a new product, and then if it's successful, they roll it out to everyone. So yes, dynamic Facebook ads for hotels. Now guys, this is a big game changer, and I've been running these dynamic ads for hotels myself for the last 3 weeks, and I've seen a much better return. So here's how it works. You basically generate hotel bookings by letting people know about your current availability and by showing off your property or your rooms. What's the difference between dynamic Facebook ads for hotels and just normal Facebook ads? The biggest difference between those ads is that with dynamic Facebook ads for hotels, a potential guest will come on your website. They will search for specific dates. Perhaps they'll even start the process of trying to make a booking, but then they leave without completing that booking. What Facebook ads will do then is that they will show your ad to that person only if you still have availability for the dates they were searching. Okay, and that's really, really powerful. Imagine you go to a website and then you search to come and stay on May the 8th. So if you look at the screenshot, and I'm hoping that you guys can see it, the screenshot on the right, that's one of my dynamic ads for hotels. It says you can still check in on May 8th for just $79.99. Book today and qualify for free parking. That's my ad. I'm seeing May 8th on that ad because I searched for availability to check in on May the 8th. So Facebook picked that up. And so now I'm on Facebook. Is spooky. How do they know? How does Facebook know to show me an ad from a hotel with the dates that I was looking at? And then the price, guys, those prices are real time and updated. If your rates, if my rates on May the 8th were $99.99, the guest would see $99.99. If the rate was $29.99, that's exactly what the guest would see. So that dynamic ads show highly, highly relevant ads to guests. You're not just showing the same ad to everybody. The ads are specifically personalized for that guest. depending on what actions they've taken on your website. So I'm seeing this ad because I searched for availability to check in Southampton on May the 8th. Okay. If I was to click on that ad, the availability would be there. Do you understand? If now I became overbooked, no, not overbooked. If somebody else booked that last apartment and it's no longer available, the guest is not going to see that ad. I wouldn't be seeing that ad. Okay. So dynamic ads for hotels will only show up on a user's Facebook feed if you have availability, and it's showing you real-time availability and real-time rates. And how does it work? What you need to do is to upload a feed onto your Facebook account. Okay, that feed is updated automatically, and it's constantly changing, because obviously as you get bookings from different channels, from different people, availability is increased or decreased. Prices are changing depending on what you're doing. Perhaps it's a Friday, that rate would change as well. There'd be a different rate to what the guests would be seeing, for instance, if it was a Monday. So this is really, really powerful, really, really clever. Marriott's on the left there, that's Marriott's dynamic Facebook ads. You can see from there that it's saying book now on Marriott.com for hotels in Austin, best rate guaranteed. And right at the bottom there it says from £229 per night. Okay. Sorry. So it just goes to show, if Marriott didn't have availability for me on the days that I searched on their website, I wouldn't be seeing that ad. But I'm only seeing that ad because the availability is still there, and I can see in real time how much I'm going to be paying once I click that book now button. Now guys, dynamic Facebook ads for hotels are a different beast altogether, but they're also very, very effective. And I'm hoping that just from how I've explained this, you can see the difference between running normal Facebook ads and running these dynamic Facebook ads for hotels. The interesting thing is that Facebook have now just gone and created a whole new product for the travel industry. So it's not just dynamic ads for hotels, there's dynamic ads for flights as well. If a traveler went on Expedia, for instance, to look at a flight, then they search for dates, and then they booked the flight but didn't book a hotel room, Expedia wouldn't be able to show them ads of hotels that have availability on the dates that they've booked these flights. Like, how amazing is that? So this is a complete game changer for Facebook ads. I've already seen a huge increase in conversions just, in the last 3 weeks. So, guys, if this is something that you really want, it's not, one thing I need to say to you is that it's not more expensive than running normal Facebook ads. It's just really a lot more effective. Okay. So I just wanted to put it out there so you guys know about it. So these are the Facebook ads is my main lead generation tool to getting direct bookings. I use the dynamic Facebook ads for travel. I use the custom and lookalike audiences, and then I also do Facebook retargeting ads. Now, the second thing that I do to generate direct bookings is what's known as meta search marketing. Okay, this is where you distribute your accommodation on websites like TripAdvisor, Expedia, Kayak. All these websites are meta search websites. Meta search basically means search engine. Okay, and I prefer doing this as opposed to doing Google pay-per-click, because with Google pay-per-click, you get charged regardless of whether someone books with you or not, and that's really, really expensive. With meta search, you've got two options. You can get charged for somebody to just click on your listing, or you get charged on commission. That's known as CPA. But the great thing about their cost per action is that you get to choose the amount of commission you want to pay them. Booking.com use meter search websites a lot. They are very, very heavy on it. This is how they promote your hotels. If you look at this screenshot here, you can see that I've typed in looking for the dates of from the 7th to the 9th of June, 1 room, 2 adults, and right at the top of the list there in Northampton, we've got Expedia, highlighted here for £110. And then at the bottom, we've got the Poplars Hotel with Booking.com. As you can see on this screenshot, that sponsored little thing there goes to show that that is a meter search. That's a cost per click or a cost per action ad that's being run on TripAdvisor. So imagine being able to show up on TripAdvisor or Expedia or Kayak for someone who's looking for accommodation in your area. Imagine showing up but not having to pay on a cost per click basis and only paying when you've actually got a booking. What happens with this is when somebody clicks the button to say view deal, they will come straight to your website, directly to your booking engine. Now guys, these things are integrated with your booking engine and channel manager. So what the guests are seeing is real-time availability and rates. So it's not guesswork anymore. And that's the biggest difference between running Google pay-per-click ads and meter search marketing ads. If somebody goes on Google and types Northampton hotels, a load of results will come up. And when we click on one of those results, we're not guaranteed to find the room or the hotel, the apartment that we want for our specific dates. However, with meter search marketing, when a guest is searching for specific dates, you will only show up if you have availability. So clearly right there straight away, you're not, wasting money on showing up when you don't even have availability. Most importantly, when guests decide to click on your listing, they come straight to your website, which means now you've trapped them in your website custom audiences through the pixel that you put on your website. So this is another strategy that I use quite successfully. I spend about 700, less than £1,000 on meter search marketing, and the result of that is I get a lot of traffic, highly relevant traffic of people who are in market to buying accommodation where I am or very close to where my apartments are. The third strategy that I use to get direct bookings is what I call direct marketing. Now, this is very low cost. It doesn't cost a lot of money. What I do is I have leaflets, flyers, call them what you like, placed in the apartments everywhere, in the living room, in the bedroom, in the bathroom. Okay, I want guests to come back and book again with us. And it's a very simple flyer. I think they cost me about 100 quid for about 5,000 of them. I had them designed and printed for about £100. They are low cost, but the return that they're giving is absolutely phenomenal. The thing to remember, guys, is that if you don't tell guests that you want them to come back and stay with you again, they're not going to. When they want to come back to your location again, guess what they're going to do? They're going to go back on Booking.com, and then they'll book you again through Booking.com. If you don't let them know that you have a website, if you don't let them know that there's an email address that they just need to email to book directly, then they're not going to, take time in trying to find that out. They will simply just do what they know best, and that's going back on Booking.com or Airbnb to book accommodation with you again. Another way of incentivizing these guests to come back and stay with you is to give them, some kind of valuable incentive, a free upgrade. It says here, check in now by searching Mercedes Space and beam with a chance to win a free upgrade on your next reservation, and also 20% off your booking. Now, you might look at that and think, well, 20% is a lot, but really, I look at it from this point of view. If I'm giving away 20% to have that client or guest come and stay with me 6 or 7 times throughout the year, then I've saved myself a lot of money, because I would have had to pay about 15 times, 5 or 6 times if these people just went back to book on booking.com. But in this case, you're losing 20%. But what you gain from that is that relationship that you have with the guest right from the beginning. And guys, that's really, really valuable. That's what you call an asset. With the rent-to-rent service accommodation model, it's already obscured, because rent-to-rent, first of all, it's not your property. So it's not as if you've got a real asset. So the only asset that you have really in this business is cash flow. It's the money that you generate. So it's even more important for guys like us who are doing rent-to-rent to make sure that we turn, as many bookings as possible into direct bookings and not OTA bookings. Because only then, when you've got a database of people who want to stay, when you've got your own real estate, that means your website, and you manage your own marketing campaigns to bring website visitors to you and then turn them into paying guests, that's when you can say that you've got a real business with real assets, and you're not depending on a third party to make sure that you're keeping afloat. So direct marketing is one of my favorite things to do. It doesn't cost a lot of money, and yet it's very effective. If you look at that leaflet, you'll see that I've got a code that says just use the code VIP. Guys, you cannot scale what you can't measure. All right. So why would I spend £100 on having flyers printed off if it's not working out? How do I know that I'm actually getting bookings from these flyers? Because when guests do book, they enter the code VIP, and this code lets me know that this person booked through this flyer. So that's how I know that they're effective and it's worth putting money into and taking very, very seriously. So I'm hoping that you have learned a few things. We've talked about, direct marketing, the meta search platforms that you can distribute your accommodation on. Again, guys, this is not very technical. You could literally find third-party companies who do offer this service very reasonably, where they'll literally plug you into these meta search companies, and then you can have your hotels being distributed everywhere on a commission basis, but you're in control of how much commission you pay. Now, guys like Expedia and Booking.com, they get guests coming to their website through meta search as well. They spend a lot of money. It's ridiculous on meta search. But the difference is, if you go on there on a commission, cost per action basis, and not cost per click, it means you've got absolutely nothing to lose. Okay, you only pay when you get a booking, and more to the point, you set the amount of commission that you want to pay. We've talked about the dynamic Facebook ads for hotels, a big game changer that's currently taking over the travel industry. A lot of companies, small and big, are seeing huge returns on this. And you know what, guys? It's not rocket science to implement. You just need to be able to do it. And then we've got the custom and lookalike audience that you can utilize on Facebook. These are people that have shown an interest in, staying with you or staying near where you are. Lookalike audiences, again, very, very powerful. You never have to run ads to people who are cold traffic ever again. I mean, I've seen ads where people are getting a load of abuse in the comments. It's because, if you run ads to people who have clearly no interest in what you're selling, they're going to look at your ad and think it's spam. So it's even more important that you run ads only to people who are in market buying what it is that you're selling. And for us, it's our inventory. And then we've got Facebook retargeting ads. Again, very, very powerful. Guys, when you're running or trying to come up with a direct booking strategy, you should remember there's two pipelines. The first pipeline is the prospecting pipeline. This is where you're getting people to come to your website, getting people to make inquiries either on your website or through the phone. That's one pipeline. The second pipeline is to retarget. The more people that are coming to your website, the more people that are calling, the more people that are giving you their email address, the more people you can then retarget and turn into direct bookings. So now we've talked about the type of guests that you need to attract for a successful direct booking strategy. We've talked about how to get them and the channels that we've used or that I use to get them. Now we're going to talk about the one thing that you actually need to make sure that all this is possible, and that's your website. So now let's talk about the consumer, the hotel booker buying journey. Okay, and this is what they all go through. And even if you sit there and think about this for a minute, before you book accommodation, there are steps that you take before you get to a point where you're like, yep, I'm definitely going to pay this provider. Okay, so first of all, they need to find you. Okay, so they find you through search engines, aggregators. These are the meta search companies that I was telling you about, the TripAdvisors, Expedia, Kayak. And then they could potentially find you through your hotel as well. So that's the first thing that they go through. They need to find you. The second step is that they do the research. They're trying to figure out if this hotel fits their needs. So they're looking at the destination, they're looking at your prices, they're looking at the dates, and they're looking at the appeal. Do you appeal to them? That's the research stage. And then the next thing that they do is that they decide. They decide whether they're going to stay with you or not. The thing is, if they do decide that they're going to stay with you, are they going to book through your hotel, or are they going to book through an OTA? Okay. So with them looking at all of this, the booking process now, they just need it to be easy. Is it easy for me to make a booking? One of the things that us independent service accommodation providers face is that when we have websites or when we have a little landing page, it's never, almost always on an inquiry basis. Most guests are not able to book instantly of an independent service accommodation provider. And that's because they usually haven't got a booking engine that's connected to a channel manager on their website. So obviously, to stop being overbooked, you leave it as inquiry only. Guys, I encourage you to stop that. Get yourself a channel manager with a booking engine, and then get a website with a booking engine. So when you get people come to your website, the option for them to book straight away is there. Okay. Obviously, if you want to give them an option to just make an inquiry, do that as well. But the best way of converting lookers to bookers is to have a very easy and seamless booking process. But that's something we'll talk about later. And then after they've booked, they make more plans. Okay, they're planning their flights, the taxis, how they're going to get there. You know, that is the journey that a traveler goes through when they're looking for accommodation and when they are traveling. Okay, so let's look at this screenshot here. Okay, so what you can see here is the analytics for booking.com. On the left it says top referring sites, on the right it says top destination sites. If you remember what I spoke to you about 10 minutes ago, I was telling you that when you get guests looking for accommodation, usually it starts off on Google, and then from Google to an OTA. One of the biggest OTAs that we have in this world is booking.com. Okay, in last month in April, because this is one of the latest analytics, in April, the top referring site on there was TripAdvisor. That's one of them. You can see Kayak is on there, Trivago is on there as well. These are meta search sites. So guests are going on these meta search sites, the travel search engines, to look for accommodation, to look for availability, to look at prices, and subsequently they're finding booking.com, and then they're going on booking.com websites. So that's the referring sites. And then on the right, we've got the top destination sites. So this is where booking.com website visitors are going after they've been on booking.com. So they go on Facebook, as you can see. They go on Google, as you can see. And they go to where it says accounts.google. That's usually like your Gmail account. What this shows to us is that when guests have made a booking, they're not content in just leaving it there. They go on Facebook to Facebook you, okay? Because Facebook is now a mini search engine as well. People just type in, the company name or the brand in Facebook, and if you're on Facebook, you'll pop up, okay? They're going back on Google because they're trying to Google your company. They want to find out more information. They want to know, they want to see more pictures. They want to see more information about surrounding areas, perhaps maybe restaurants that are near you, meeting rooms, that kind of thing. And then obviously the accounts.google, people are going to their email address to make sure that, their booking is actually confirmed. So I thought it would be important for me to show you this screenshot to make you realize that, having a website right from the beginning is crucial. Having your social media pages on Facebook, especially on Facebook, is also very, very important, because, when guests find you through an OTA, which a lot of the times that's how they get to find you. Let's be honest here. When they find you through an OTA, you want to be able to get them to come to your website or to find you on a social media page so they can just get to know you and your company a lot more. It does wonders for your direct marketing or direct booking strategies. Because if somebody has found you in an OTA and they've booked, and then now they've come to your website and they realize that, hold on, if they book with you directly, they're going to get more value for their money. Remember, there's rate parity, especially with booking.com. You're not allowed to have cheaper rooms on your website and then sell them for a higher price on booking.com. That's one of their rate parity rules. But you can definitely be a lot more valuable. So for instance, if you're on booking.com and it says you've got paid Wi-Fi, £10 per stay, on your website you could have free Wi-Fi. On booking.com, if the earliest time they can check in is 3 p.m., on your website perhaps make it 2 p.m. It's all about the value. You want these guests to come to your website or to your Facebook page and think, blimey, perhaps, I should book directly with these people because I seem to be getting a lot more for my money by booking directly. So these are the things you need to think about as well as you're starting out. Another thing that I really need to say to you guys now is that booking.com actually allows you to upload a picture of your logo. So if you have a logo that's got your name on it clearly, then put it on there. There's no reason for you not to. It just means that guests will come across it and think, oh, let's Google these people and see what they're about. And then when they come to your website, make sure that your website gives them the experience that they're looking for. Make sure that you've got incentives on there to just encourage them to book directly with you next time. I mean, I've had quite a few guests who have actually booked on booking.com, and then they've come to the website and they've actually emailed to say, if we cancel our reservation on booking.com, will you honor these prices, the availability, and also will we really get all these valuable extras? And we've obviously said yes. And a lot of people have actually gone and done that. They've cancelled their reservation on booking.com and then come back to book directly with us. So it actually starts, first impressions definitely count. So here are the top reasons that people leave your website before booking. So as I've said before, every visitor to your website is on a journey. They are traveling, sort of like traveling the distance before they make the purchase. It may take days, weeks, and sometimes even months to complete that booking. The typical online shopper visits multiple websites to compare pricing, to look at reviews, and to research on the types of features that you've got. And most people, by the time they've clicked the book now or the checkout button, they've been on like a little tour. Everybody loves a good deal. Everybody wants to know that they're paying for something and they're going to get excellent value. So during that journey, it's not uncommon for potential guests to abandon the whole process together. It happens. You go into a shop, you buy a jumper, and you're like, I don't really want this. You change your mind, and then you go for something completely different. Maybe you go for a jacket instead, something completely different. The thing is, you need to be able to retarget people. That way, if your accommodation is not the right fit at that time, perhaps it will be another time. Okay, maybe the price wasn't right, maybe the rates weren't great, or maybe they just weren't that serious at all. These are the things that happen on a day-to-day basis, guys. But the one thing that you need to remember is that serious bookers will always come back. So first impressions count. People shop for like accommodation the same way that they shop for clothes or electronics. They do a lot of research, and their journey leads them to loads of websites before they make that decision. So how can you capture them when they're ready to decide? Now, first of all, it helps to understand why they leave. So a company called Sales Cycle surveyed 1,000 people, and these are the top 5 reasons why guests usually didn't book straight away. The first reason was that they wanted to do more research. Great. Okay, they're going to go and research on price, location, da-da-da-da. That's why they didn't book the first time. The second reason that they didn't book is that they wanted to compare prices. So if they land on your website and your rate is $99.99 per night, in the back of their head, they're going to be thinking, could I get this for cheaper somewhere else? Okay, so they go off and do the research. They want to check with other travelers. That's your reviews. If you haven't got reviews on your website, it's going to be very difficult for people to trust you with their credit card details. Okay, the booking process took too long. This is another thing that I see on a lot of independent SA checkout system. It's just too long. Just asking for so many questions that are not even necessary. Guests don't like that. They'll just abandon that and then go and find somewhere else. And then technical issues. This is another biggie. Guys, use a booking engine. Get a professional involved if you don't know how to do these things yourself. Technical issues are a big no-no. If you can't view a picture, if you can't play a video, if you click on a link that's supposed to open and it doesn't, guests are not going to pick up the phone and say, oh, well, I'm trying to do this, but I can't. Can you help? They'll just think, you know what, I'm going to book and stay somewhere else. And that's not what you want to do. So, having said that, what can you do about it? Well, the last 3 points that we looked at here are easy to address. Checking with other travelers, the booking process too long, technical issues, all that can be sorted out with a well-designed website and a modern booking engine. Okay, you can avoid those technical snags that prevent guests from actually booking with you. And obviously, if you've got reviews on your page, then that's a bonus. You'll be able to satisfy the guests for wanting other people's opinions. But what about the first 2 reasons? Wanting to do more research on comparing prices. What can you actually do about that to make sure that guests book with you? Well, they're a little bit harder to control, but you can influence your website visitors on their journey. You really can. You just have to make sure that you've got high quality photos on your website. Have information to capture their interest whilst they're doing their research. I've seen websites with pictures that somebody took with their phone. It's a waste of time, guys, so don't do it. Information, blah 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 type of information is just not what the guests are looking for. It really isn't. You need to have information. You look at it this way. If you are looking for accommodation because you want to go away somewhere with your partner or your children, and then you went on a website, what type of information would you be looking for? Some people think that writing big, long words about their location is what's going to sell. It's not. It will actually put people off because they don't understand what you're talking about. People just want what they're looking for. Make it easy for them to find what they're looking for. Offer specials or have a guarantee in your pricing to account for the comparison shopping. Have it on your website, best price guarantee. Early check-in guaranteed. Make sure that you highlight the value that guests are going to get when they book directly with you. Finally, you need to keep track of who visits your website and how long they stay so that you can better understand how to reach qualified guests the next time. Most people don't even track, how many people are going to their websites, let alone how long they're staying on your website. All this information is really, really important because it just helps you make better decisions. So you're not wasting money on something that's really not working. Okay. If you have a website where people bounce, that means somebody lands on your website and then they just leave straight away. Then you've got a crappy website. I'm sorry to say, you've got a website that's just there for aesthetics. But as a direct response marketer, I 100% fully believe that the best websites don't always look pretty. The best websites are designed to convert. And at the end of the day, we don't want thousands and thousands of website visitors. What we do want are thousands and thousands of bookings. And that's what your website should be aimed to do. But guys, there's good news. 87% of the people that were surveyed said that they would return to the booking process later. This goes back to what I was saying to you earlier on. You get a lot of people coming to your website, people who are in market to buy accommodation. Okay, they'll come to your website, they'll search, they'll look at pictures, they'll do all sorts of things, and then they'll leave. But if you've made a really good impression, okay, if you've made a great first impression, regardless of where they go from visiting your website, a good amount of them will come back if you can meet their needs. This is why, again, I go back to the point of knowing your guests. If you don't know your guests, you're not going to know what to say to them. I mean, if you go on my website, it currently says, travel for work, live like a local, because I'm attracting the business travelers, okay? So when they land on my website, instantly they can see that my brand is all about business travelers. Now, obviously, I'm going through a complete rebrand at the minute. I want to cater for the business and the leisure travelers. So that slogan is going to change. It's not going to say that in the next few days. I haven't figured out what it's going to say yet, but I'll think of something. So, again, it's important to know who your guests are. And I've talked about the 4 types of guests that you can attract, that are easily attractable, especially if you're trying to create your own direct booking strategy. Okay. We've talked about the channels, the methods that you can use to attract them, the Facebook ads, the customer lookalike audiences, and the new, absolutely mind-blowing Facebook ads for hotels. So now we're going to talk about what do direct bookers actually want. Okay. The one thing that they want for sure is a well-designed website. If you haven't got a well-designed website and you've got something that looks like a 10-year-old did it, how are people supposed to trust you with their credit cards? Okay, they're not going to trust you. All right, so you need to make sure that you've got a well-designed and maintained website. Check for broken links and pictures that are not loading up. Also, the site speed is very important. If you have a website that takes 50 seconds to load up, people are going to leave. Because we're now in a society where people want instant gratification. If it's taking ages for your website to load up, people are going to start wondering, is there going to be anybody waiting to check me in, or am I going to have to stand around and waiting for somebody else? So a well-designed website is the first thing that you need to make sure that you've got to encourage direct bookings. And then the second thing is that a mobile-friendly website with an easy booking system. If you've ever been on a website that's mobile-friendly, you'll know the pain that it is that you have to go through to buy something. Guests don't want that. People have mobile phones and mobile devices in their hand all the time. They are looking for information on their mobile device. They're doing their research on a mobile device. And a lot of them actually make their decisions off a mobile device. So if your website is not mobile friendly, they're not going to spend time looking at your website. They will leave straight away and go somewhere else. I've done it loads of times. I've been in Birmingham looking for a last minute accommodation, and I kept coming across websites that were not mobile friendly, and I've exited straight away because it's a waste of my time. An easy booking process. If I have to fill in 50 different fields, giving you my name, my address, my date of birth, my eye color, this and that, I'm not going to book because it's just too much to deal with. Why would I do that? So make sure that your booking process is very simple. Ask only for information that you need. Okay. The third thing is that you need to have valuable content. Don't talk about, how the great Henry IV did this and that. Nobody cares about that. People want valuable content that's relevant to them. Okay. What does your property have that's going to make my stay enjoyable and memorable? That's what people want to see. High resolution images, again, stop with mobile phone pictures. They're not going to help you in the long run. It might work because you need something to show people, but don't leave your mobile phone pictures on the website. They're not going to work for you, especially if you want to turn website visitors to paying guests. Clear call to action. So a call to action is something like book now or search for availability. These are phrases that are on websites that tells the guest what you want them to do next. Okay, so make sure that it's clear. If a guest can't see where it is that they need to click to make a booking, then they're not going to make a booking, are they? If they don't know where to search for availability, they're not going to search for availability. So you've wasted time and money on getting someone onto your website, and then they've just left simply because the call to actions are not clear. Okay. The sixth thing that's important for you guys to know is that you need to have flexible and quick payment options. Flexible in terms of your policies. If they're too strict, like non-refundable, people are going to be like, ooh, that's a little bit scary. So make sure that you're flexible with your policies. Okay, 30-day cancellation periods work really well. 60 days at a push. Okay, if you have a non-refundable policy, make sure the price reflects that. But then I find that non-refundable policies don't work really well with direct bookers, because a lot of these direct bookers, they haven't got that kind of relationship with you yet. They don't trust you enough to just pay for something on a non-refundable basis. They want a little bit of security. And also quick payment options. If your only payment method is by asking a guest to transfer money into your bank account, you're going to lose a lot of bookings. People want quick and easy ways of making payments, and that's through their credit or debit card. So make sure that you've got a merchant account set up with your booking engine to take those payments. So the most valued incentives. So I had this discussion with my team as well, and before I looked at their statistics, because I survey a lot of people that come and stay with us. Well, we send them surveys automatically, and then I look at them on a quarterly basis. The most valued incentive is a room upgrade. It's not even about price. It's a room upgrade. And that made, to start off with, it puzzled me a little bit. But then I had to think about it, and I thought, well, that's right actually, because if I pay for accommodation and the price is £150, I've got the £150, right, to stay there. So that's great. But when I get there and I've paid £150, but then I've been upgraded to a room that's worth £250. That's mind-blowing. To me, that's like, oh, wow, this is amazing. So the most valued incentive by guests is actually a room upgrade, followed by free Wi-Fi, free breakfast, and ease of the check-in process. That's just something that direct bookers, especially people who book serviced accommodation, are constantly looking at. Room upgrade. Are they going to get a bigger apartment? Are they going to get an apartment with a balcony or a hot tub? Okay, the Wi-Fi, is it free and is it available 24/7? Breakfast. That's just something that a lot of SA providers don't have. But if it was, this is something that would be, a top incentive to offer. And then the ease of check-in. We've heard the horror stories of guests turning up and waiting 2 hours before somebody came to check them in. This is something that literally frightens guests before they book with apartments, especially us smaller SA guys. So make sure that you highlight it on your website, in your emails, in your literature, that, we will have someone waiting there for you, guaranteed. That it just makes the guests feel a lot more warm and cushy about spending money with you. So, you've won the initial booking. You've got the people booking with you. Everything's great. How do you make them come back and book with you again? Well, you reward loyalty. Guests go mad for loyalty points. It's the same concept with Tesco Club Card. I go crazy when my Tesco Club Card statement comes through my letterbox, because I'm waiting for those vouchers. Everybody loves a bargain, okay? So reward loyalty. I have a loyalty scheme in place. Guests that stay with me automatically get 500 points. That's a fiver of their next booking. So I've got business guests who stay with me all the time and they redeem their points and they love it. Okay, so reward loyalty. That's how you get guests to come back. So if you think about it, if a guest has 10,000 points with you, okay, and they want to come back and stay in your area again, why would they go and book with somebody else and miss out on utilizing, the loyalty points? So, it doesn't take a lot to implement, but once it's there, it's very, very useful. Your guests will definitely appreciate it. Another way to make sure that you've got repeat guests coming back, you need to train your key staff to make notes on guest personal preferences. Okay, so a guest that prefers a non-smoking room, a guest that prefers apartments on the highest floor, these are the things that you need to train your key staff on identifying. People love the personalization. They love feeling like they're the only guest that you've got. They love it because it makes them feel special. So if you can do that, then you'll be winning that guest when they want to come back. And then also thirdly, very important but highly overlooked, keep in touch with your previous guests. These are the lowest hanging fruit. Okay. If you have a guest stay or guests stay and then they leave and then they never hear from you again, do you really think that they're going to remember you the next time that they want to come and stay? Maybe they will, but most of them won't, because you've got competition. There's always competition. There's always people ready to snap up that guest away from you. So you need to keep in touch with them. Text messaging is effective for just after they leave. And then email marketing periodically, every month, every 2 months, every 3 months, just so you can stay top of mind. Let them know about the new offers, the new locations that are coming up, the new features that you've got, and therefore any promo codes that you might be running. Keep in touch with your previous guests if you want to make sure that you've got those repeat bookings coming back to stay with you. So you're at your computer and you've watched this class, and I really do hope that you've enjoyed it. You've heard and seen how this works, and you know that having a direct booking strategy can be a great way to have more website visitors, more social media friends, and ultimately more money via the direct bookings. If you're someone who really wants to scale up, and depend less on booking agents and pay less commission, you might be wondering, well, how can you implement all the tactics and strategies I just showed you quickly and easily? Okay, now clearly, obviously, you know that direct bookings will exponentially increase your net profits, because the simple truth is OTA commissions eat into your profit margins. Now just look at the examples below that. That's a screenshot that I posted last week when I announced this class. £39,000 worth of booking on one of the locations. And on booking.com, I paid a commission of $2,293 for 12 grand, almost 13K worth of bookings. The rest of that income came from direct bookings. Had I sold all that inventory through booking.com, I would have paid at least 6 to 7K in commission. And my commission for that location is 18% because I'm a preferred provider. But I've paid a hell lot of commission for 39K worth of bookings. But thank God I've got a direct booking strategy and I didn't have to pay anywhere near that amount. In fact, what I ended up saving in the end was £2,500 on commissions. So let's look at this. So these are some of the clients that I work with. So a bed and breakfast, they've only got 4 rooms, 80% occupancy on an average daily rate of $170, 20% commission. Before they had a direct booking strategy in place, they were taking 80% booking from an OTA and 20% were direct, with room sales of $204,400. And then their commission after the OTA, $171,696. But after they've implemented a direct booking strategy, the little things that we spoke about, the retargeting, the Facebook ads, the meta search, direct marketing, that shifted from them having 60% bookings coming from the OTA and 40% coming directly to them, which was a big jump. And over the year, they were $8,176 better off. Now, that doesn't seem like a big number, but it is, especially if you're scaling up. Now, this is a room, an independent provider with 75 rooms, $135 average day rate. Before, 80% of bookings were coming from the OTAs and it was 20% direct bookings. After implementing the direct booking strategy, it shifted to 60% OTA and 40% direct bookings, which made them £118,260 better off. So you can see the difference here, guys. $8,000 might not sound like a lot of money, but for someone who's only got 4 rooms, that is a lot of money. Now, even more so if you're trying to scale up. Imagine you had 75 apartments, 10 apartments. I don't know how many apartments you personally have, but if you doubled what you've got today, you'd be paying silly amounts in commission, where you really don't have to. You could literally keep that money for yourself or to expand the business. Clearly, having a direct booking strategy is something that everyone should aspire to doing if you're not trying to do it already. So, here's what I've got. On Saturday, the 3rd of June at Heathrow, I have a 1-day workshop where I will take you through my step-by-step, the way that I actually create and implement this direct booking strategy. It's I've called it SA Smarty Pants Plus Increase Your Direct Bookings, where I will literally break down the complete £30,000 system and walk you through how to install it in your own business step by step. It's on Saturday the 3rd of June at Heathrow from 9 to 5. Obviously lunch and refreshments are included. But I call it a £30,000 system because I lost a little over £10,000 trying to figure it all out. And then I decided to go to the US to get some proper training on how to market hotels online using direct response principles. So now this is what I'll do for you. On day one, you're going to discover a new way to increase your business with potential guests who are already in market for accommodation in your location. Now, I know we've touched upon it earlier on when we first started this, but on this training day, I will actually show you how to do it and not just give you the information of what you need to do. Okay, you'll be doing this by using simple but effective guest creating systems that most SA providers haven't got. You know, like your Facebook ads, the hotel Facebook ads, the dynamic Facebook ads for hotels rather, the custom audiences, the lookalike audience. I'm going to talk about the pixel. Okay, you need a pixel on your website to track everything that's going on. People who are searching for specific dates, for specific locations, you need to have that on your website. I will also show you about websites, how to have a website that actually works. The CMS system that I use that allows you to just edit your website at the drop of a hat. You know, you don't have to pay developers and designers 30, 40, 50 pounds an hour to update a page. You could literally do this yourself. I'll talk about retargeting, the types of retargeting that you can implement. I'll go through Google Maps with you. Guys, I get a lot of business from Google Maps. Very, very important that you set yourself up on Google Maps. Email marketing, another very effective way of selling rooms. And then the tools that I use to get on the meta search channels. These are the travel search engines like TripAdvisor, Trivago, and Kayak. These are the places that guests go to when they're looking for accommodation. So it makes sense that you put yourself on there as well, but on a cost per action basis. This is where you pay a commission, and you tell these meta search companies how much commission you want to pay. And this is what I'm going to do next. Naturally, if you implement everything I just shared with you, you see amazing results in your business. And that's why you should invest in, SA Smarty Pens to increase your direct bookings now. Okay, it's just $5.79, and you can get your copy, or you can save your seat by clicking the link that's just popped up below this video. Guys, if you claim your seat today, it's not just going to be a one-day workshop where you come over and then you cram everything in a short space of time. What you get with that is the complete step-by-step online version for you to look at in your own leisure, your own time, and then implement. Okay, because when you come on these trainings, I think a lot of people go on trainings and then they're upsold a mastermind or a membership or something like that. That's not what we do at our trainings. When you come for the training, we literally give you everything. But we also appreciate that there's a lot of content that you have to consume on that day that is literally impossible to remember everything. So I have an online version of everything that I'm going to teach you on that day. So you get your own username. You can log in there anytime, any place, on any device, and then you can literally create and set up this system for yourself at your own leisure. This alone, this online version alone, we sold it last week for just £2,500 on our website. Okay, but this bonus of having this online thing is not available all the time. It's only available until tomorrow. Okay, plus if you wait until after today, the price is going to go up. It's not going to be $579. The price will go up by £300, and then we will only be selling this workshop, this level of training online, for at least £1,999. So if you want to get more direct bookings, if you want the complete step-by-step system, how I run the Facebook ads, the type of Facebook ads that I run, how I do the targeting, you can target corporate guests, business travelers, leisure guests. How do you get all those people to click on your ads, to go to your website, and then subsequently turn into paying guests. I've got a complete step-by-step system on how to do it. It's going to be on video, but on the day that you come on the training, we will be talking about strategies. Any questions that you have, you can ask me on the day. After the training, you get online access to the practical how to do this step by step. Okay, you're literally looking over my shoulder and watching me create these ads and watching me create this whole marketing campaign. I'll show you exactly what I do in my business, so you can take a look at it and be inspired. Remember, I'm very careful what I say. I don't do these courses so you can do exactly what I'm doing, because you might have more money to throw on ads than I do. Perhaps I spend, a lot more than you can afford. But the important thing to remember is when you're looking at that training, you will get ideas, you'll be inspired, and then you can actually look at that and then use it for your own circumstances to suit you. And what most of our students really appreciate more than the actual training day itself is the aftercare. We do not train our students and then just leave them to it. We don't say to them, oh, well, you've got to pay us $1,000 a month from now on if you want to talk to us ever again. We don't do that. We have a private group on Facebook that you can be a part of. Whilst you're running these ads, whilst you're trying to create this strategy, if you have a question, if you have a query, if you come up with a snag, you can always tag me on Facebook, and I will absolutely respond to your comment and help you as best I can. If I can't help you personally, I will know someone who can. Okay, so when it comes to creating this direct booking strategy, there's a lot of pieces rather, that need to go into the puzzle, and this is something that you get to discover as you carry on. So, if this is something you want to learn, if this is something you want to implement, if you want to depend less on the OTAs, if you want to have better control over your business, over the sales that are coming into your business, then the Smarty Pants, increase your direct bookings, is the way forward. So if you have any questions on how to buy, then send me an email to trainwithemilia@gmail.com. That's trainwithemilia@gmail.com. Otherwise, to reserve your seat for the 3rd of June, that's a Saturday, at Heathrow, then click the link below and you'll be taken straight to the payment page. So guys, I hope you've enjoyed this video. I hope that you take a lot of the steps that I've talked about. If you don't feel comfortable running the Facebook ads, implement the direct marketing. That those flyers will make such a huge difference. Retargeting, you can start from retargeting. You don't need to be running ads. Just start off by retargeting people who've been to your website or the people on your email list on Facebook. All of these things are things that are they seem challenging to start with. They seem overwhelming, but I promise you it's really not. You just need to know how to do it. And as I said, the online platform is the perfect solution for all of that. So guys, I really wanted this class to be 40 minutes long. It's actually turned out to be 1 hour and 38 minutes. So I will stop it here. I hope you've got a lot of value from this. I had fun creating. I'm sorry about my groggy voice. I had a cold, but I wanted to keep my promise and do this for you. So yeah, I hope to see you on the 3rd. If not, then I will catch you guys in the groups. I make comments regularly in there. But yeah, so thank you. I will speak to you soon.